Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. You are watching the show that is the highest rated show on YouTube. They just don't know it yet. And that is, of course, Sketching Past Midnight Live. I am your host, the man of the hour, the man of action, the greatest of all time. It's undisputed, unchallenged, so it must be true. CB Smallwood here with you on this. Gosh, I really don't know what day this is. I have not a clue. And I'm sure everyone's in bed. I usually, when I do my broadcast, I kind of do these out of the blue, and I don't tell nobody. I keep it ultra secret, and so I don't really expect anybody to chime in. So I'm just going to talk to myself and assume that you, the dear audience, will show up later, probably after this broadcast is concluded. So let's talk about what I'm actually working on instead of like blathering. Maybe that's not the right word for it. Working on the Wildcat Anthology. Raise up my little thingamajigger here. Let me turn this a little bit if I can. I'm sorry that the angle is a little funky, but we've seen this first page, of course, right? And let me throw this to the side. Then we got this one. Looking pretty good so far. And then we got this third page, which I've yet to ink. Not yet to finish inking. My bad. Still haven't finished that. And there's some reasons for that. Basically, just a time issue. I'm not doing a lot of really good time management. And when you're trying to be a comic artist or anything in life, you got to devote the time to make that happen. And so I've fallen short of that goal, and so I'm trying to make the time for that. And so before I even focus camera, can we do that? There we go. Good. So before I even started doing the broadcast for tonight or this evening or this day, depending on your time zone, I sat down and started doing the layouts for page 4. I mean, 4 like this. There we go. So I got Mr. Sims' script here pulled up on my handy dandy phone, my new play phone. I got so many play phones, it's ridiculous. And one actual, phone to be used for phone purposes. I also have by my side the layouts. Look here, you can even see my little catchphrase at the end. I'm trying to work on that catchphrase because I always seem to botch it at the end of all my videos. I mean, every bit of that stuff that I say, I truly mean. It's just that I'm trying to get it said smooth, but you don't care about that. You care about the actual layout. So let's talk about what we're doing here. So if we were to look here, we'll zoom in, and this is like the world's worst thumbnails. I actually couldn't remember what was in these, and I had to go look up the script here. And so we are on page 4, and let me get right here. So right here is where we're at, and page 4, panel 1, Wildcat leaps headfirst at the polar bear. And Wildcat shouts, it's Wildcat, So we've got Wildcat here. I'm not really dead set on this, so I don't really want to do too many pencils on that yet until I get it figured out. But because I want some speed lines going in the background and stuff, and so I'm going to have to look up some references for that. I was thinking about looking at some Luther Strode, the Legend of Luther Strode or something like that. The artist on that, I can't remember if his name is something Tad Moore maybe. He's pretty good. Looking at some James Herron, I think that's his name. And also looking up some Daniel Warren Johnson, Daniel Warren something or another. He does murder falcon, I think. And so looking at, you know, how they do their speed lines and stuff. So anyway, let's get this back out. So we're on now panel 2. I'm sorry that it goes blurry in and out. You have to bear with me. No pun intended. Panel 2, polar bears roar in pain. Polar bear, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. In pain as Wildcat slashes at the beast with his claws. So here in the second panel, I wanted to throw the head back of the bear. Focus camera. And this is supposed to be Wildcat in the foreground. And here is this. I wanted to have the axe in there somewhere because my thinking is that I don't want him to just drop the axe. So I'm assuming he's attacking the guy that just attacked him. And yeah. So I wanted the axe in there. I didn't want it to be fully upright because, you know, Wildcat's attacking back and he's slashing. So I got these little lines here, so I know to do some type of motion here, motion blur or whatever. Let's see, in the head rear back. What else do I have to say about panel 2 that I was thinking? Oh yeah, I was going to look at some Mike Mignola for inspiration, you know, as far as like putting in my blacks and everything, you know. I think that will really make it, you know, pop a little bit more. I don't know. That's just my train of thought. Now we're on panel 3, and if we look at the script here, it says, maybe if I zoom in on this, is that better? Panel 3, the bear bites down on Wildcat's shoulder, blood splatters. You know, and Wildcat shouts, "Ah, you filthy animal!" And so I really wanted to get a good expression of Wildcat not being too pleased and everything like that about that. I was thinking like maybe having one eye squinted from the wincing of the pain, but one eye open from the surprise and the anger and the outrage. And then, you know, I kind of got an indication here of the polar bear, you know, doing whatever cybernetic polar bears do, you know. And let's see here, going further with the script, we're on now, what is it, panel 4. The bear swings its axe, hitting Wildcat in the torso and knocking him through the air. And so, focus camera. They can't see what's happening. Focus. Come on. Come on, little camera. Give it a second, guys. It'll get there. There we go. Better, much better. So, yeah, I'm like 80%, you know, pleased with this panel. So I got the axe going through here, and I got Wildcat. There's his arm, his other arm, his head, and this circle right here is I'm supposed to remember that this is the top of his head. This circle here is the side, so that way I kind of know where to size everything up. And then of course we've got the cross, gives me the idea where his eyes are supposed to be, you know. So I'm fairly, you know, all right with this. I feel like there's a better way to do this maybe. Usually in comics, unless I'm mistaken, this axe would actually be, you know, spread out further away from Wildcat, because comic books tend to capture the action either at, it's usually like it's after it's completed and you're seeing the reaction of the person that's just got attacked, you know. So here I don't know. I guess that'll do. So we got 2 more panels left, so bear with me. So where are we at? Focus camera. We're on panel 5. Ice cracks around Wildcat, blood oozing from his fresh wound. So we're on panel 5 here. There we go. We're on panel 5 here, and the idea behind this is I tried to draw these cracks in here and stuff, and this is just layouts. I'll make this all look better, one way or another. I wanted to have Wildcat kind of holding his wound, and there's blood in here. It probably might look cooler if I blew everything up to a much larger size. Like made this bigger, but like I feel like storytelling wise, it would hurt the story. So I guess that's the only reason I've not done that. I wanted to have something of the polar bear in the foreground to remind the reader that the polar bear is still here, and kind of give a range of distance, and so this is the polar bear's axe. I decided to put some, I put in where roughly I want my blood splatter to go on the blade, because remember, he just swung this at Wildcat here. So the only other comment I got to make about this, if the camera would zoom, there we go, thank you, camera, is the eyes. I kind of like the idea of him looking down at his wound. I think that would, it kind of looks cooler, but at the same time, the realism is like, somebody's approaching you. Would you not look out in this direction, at the danger that's coming towards you, So I may have to sacrifice what's cool for what's practical here. And then we get down to the last panel, and let me get the source material here. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So panel 6, and it says he breaks through the ice and sinks into the sea. That's pretty much it, And so let me turn this off, because I think I've got the layouts here pretty much done. I'm not too happy about some of the debris I got here. I mean, I'm going to make this all look good later, but initially when I do my layouts, I kind of put everything where I want it to go, and I feel like everything just kind of looks a little boxed in a really bad way. So I want to have debris just kind of going everywhere, and I don't want it to look contrived and phony. I want it to look natural and explosive, And I guess debris itself would give off some bubbles, so I probably need to keep that in mind too. So I'll go ahead and put in little bubble indications or something. I don't know what you would call it. Little bubbles, little happy bubbles. They're happy to sink into the sea, drift into the currents to where the Titanic's at, where it will forever be. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's pretty cool. That's a spur of the moment thought right there, Got these lines here, kind of showing. Hopefully, I don't know if it actually works or not, but kind of showing like the feeling of it crashing down, because he's fell through the ice, That's the idea anyway. So what I'll probably do for this one is I'll find some Aquaman reference. That one guy who draws like Greg Capullo, I thought he did a good Aquaman. Story-wise, though, I don't know about that. I'm not the writer on that book, but like art-wise, I thought the artist did a great job on that book. Draws like Greg Capullo. I think his name is Victor something or other. He's now drawing Wolverine. But anyway, may use some of his work for reference as far as like drawing this underwater stuff. Maybe some Paul Pewletter. I don't know how to pronounce his name. This guy named Paul, back in the 90s, he did the backup stories for the Incredible Hulk, and it was when the Incredible Hulk was in the Pantheon or something like that. And you know, I just I remember, you know, at the time I never really appreciated the whole Pantheon storyline. You know, it wasn't my cup of tea. You know, I'm a big fan of Dumb Hulk and stuff like that. But as you get older, it's sort of like, you know, everybody can love Metallica and then kind of snub their nose at Judas Priest. But as they get older, it's like, oh, well, Judas Priest, yeah. Why didn't why didn't I appreciate that more as a young man? What was my failure there, you know? That's probably the worst analogy in the world, but bear with me. I think you guys get the idea of what I'm trying to say here. And let me sip what's left of my tea. So I think when I have some bubbles coming up from Wildcat's legs here, kind of showing, you know, as he falls through. I guess the thinking is like it's so sudden that he's catching air as he goes down. The air gets trapped, and it's trapped in the form of bubbles, and so those bubbles are wanting to go, you know, because it's a gas, it's wanting to go up, you know, so they're going back up to the surface. I don't look too bad. I wonder if I need to draw like a bunch of bubbles underneath here. Is that what I need to do? Just ridiculous amounts of bubbles. I don't know. I have no clue. That's the reason you got to use reference, kids. You got to know. Was this like fart bubbles? You got to know what you got to know. Never try to avoid going in blind. Put some ears on here. Just throw them ears on there. Yeah, there we go. So, anyway, the Hulk and the Pantheon and stuff, I never really appreciated it, you know, like I should, but like, you know, now as a more sophisticated reader, I dig it. I dig it more. A lot of the backup stories, and he drew like very similar to how Delkion did when he was doing the Incredible Hulk and stuff like that, you know. And he's a really, really good artist. And I only feel like he really started to catch people's eye, oddly enough, you know, when he started drawing Aquaman in the late 2000s. He took over for might have been Ivan Reis. And I love that run of Aquaman by Ivan Reis and, or is it Ivan Rice? I don't know. Whatever. Ivan Reis and, what's that superstar writer who doesn't really write for DC anymore? He's a great writer. Did a lot of Green Lantern. That was his big call to fame. There we go. I'm stuttering John here. What is his name? Not Grant Morrison, which Grant Morrison's run on Green Lantern is pretty good right now. But it's kind of like, it's whatever your taste is. You know, some people will be like, oh man, this is awful. And some people will be like, this is simply fantastic. More please. You know, so it's, you know, not everybody's going to react the same way to it. But anyway, this guy, oh, I'm so close to saying his name. But anyway, that run on Aquaman by Ivan Reis and whoever that mystery writer is, it was during the New 52 when they rebooted everything, and I thought those first couple of issues were golden, you know. Aquaman was one of these DC characters that, you know, he just never really gets the love and respect he deserves. You know, it's a cool character concept on paper, but like in execution, you know, very few people seem to be able to pull it off well. My earliest foray into Aquaman was when Peter David took him over, and in that first 2 issues, basically, this was back in the 90s. Aquaman got in a fight with this guy who lives under the sea, and then it went to like some island, and in the river in this island, Aquaman got pinned down. His hand got stuck in the river, and there's piranhas, and that's how he lost his hand, and that's how he ended up with the harpoon hand, you know. Which was really cool. You know, that was back in the 90s when DC and Marvel were freaking out, you know, because Marvel's big talent, you know, which would become the Image founders, they went and founded Image Comics, and so they came up with all these wacky doodle things to try to compete with Image, and it was wonderful. It was the greatest thing. You know, the 90s is the single greatest argument for competition, if there ever was one, you know, because we got so many great books out of it. And you can say what you will about the Image founders, but the thing is, that looks a little bit goofy. I don't know. That's what an eraser's for. You can say what you will about some of the Image books and stuff in terms of the writing and stuff, but the art was top notch on most of the books, and really, it was just because of what they were doing at Image. You know, you would have never ever got Age of Apocalypse if it wasn't for Image Comics, because the reason Marvel did Age of Apocalypse was solely to compete with Image Comics. If it wasn't for Image Comics, you wouldn't have got the Bloodlines that DC Comics did. If it wasn't for Image Comics, DC would have never killed Superman, and they wouldn't have broken Batman's back. Gosh, there's just so much stuff about that was so good about Image Comics that caused a ripple effect in the entire comic book industry. Because of Image Comics, we would have never had, you know, the Ultraverse by Malibu Comics, because they were inspired by Image. And then Image Comics also inspired all these little studios that popped up. So everybody's like, hey, I like what they're doing there. Why can't we do that? So, you know, you had guys like, Frank Miller, and I think John Byrne, and a whole bunch of them. You know, they started like, I think it was called the Legend imprint. I'm not really for sure. Don't quote me on that. You know, Mike Mignola and all this other stuff. And that's how you got the Next Men, Hellboy and stuff. That they were inspired by Image, and then Bravura. You remember that? It had Jim Starlin's Breed. Remember Breed? I think that's what it's called. You know, the people that were working at Bravura, I think that's what it's called. They were also inspired by Image Comics to do what they did. And what other studios popped up that were inspired? I mean, there was a bunch of them that kind of happened, you know, all at once. The whole Image Comics thing was like an explosion of talent, really. And it's kind of interesting that, you know, that I started talking about the Incredible Hulk and Paul Puletter or whatever his name is, and I kind of segued into all that. But, you know, when it comes to the 90s comics, I think a lot of us never really truly appreciated what it was that we had, you know. And also the same thing goes for music. If you all remember, a lot of the music from the 90s was great in terms of rock and stuff like that. I mean, you had rock, grunge, alternative, industrial rock, industrial metal. I think I already said grunge. You know, you had pop rock. I mean, you had such a, rap metal, math metal. You had it all, and a lot of this stuff was, different variations of this stuff was being played on MTV and different, music channels, and also some of this stuff was even making its way on the radio, which is simply fantastic. And you compare, I remember, sometimes rolling my eyes at some of the what I would call, rock, rolling my eyes what time I said it. At some of the stuff that was called rock being played on the radio. But I tell you what, I don't want to say I'd give anything, but the expression, I'd give anything if they would just go back to playing what they were playing back then. That was rock on the radio. I mean, shoot, on MTV's Top 10, we had Rob Zombie, we had Creed, we had, let me think here. Rob Zombie, Creed, Linkin Park, which I wasn't much of a Linkin Park guy. You had Pearl Jam, you had, sometimes Metallica off and on. They went kind of dry there, but you had the System of a Down, and it was just cool. It was just cool. Let's see here. I need to think when I do for the rest of this, I need to add a shadow underneath this polar bear here, so I kind of know that that his head kind of ends here. Does that make sense? And draw this on top of here. Oh, you can't even see what the frig I'm drawing. I guess it don't really matter that much if you can see that I'm drawing an ear or not, but I feel like it matters. So I feel like it means something. Not too hot on this Wildcat face, so I'll probably tinker with that later. I want, I'm really big on faces. Faces are so important, I've always felt that. I just never had the words to articulate it, but I think Jim Lee is one of the people that kind of said it best, is that human beings, one of the first things that we see when we look at people is their face. That's one of the... Focus, camera. Are you focused? You're not focused. But yeah, faces. Faces is where it's at, And it's kind of weird if not weird in the sense that we focus on that, but it's weird in a sense to think about it, to be conscious of it, because then you start getting into a lot of psychology and things like that, and if you overanalyze things and you get into like a Western train of thought. I'm very much into Eastern philosophy, the idea of like, with Western philosophy, it's about like, you stop and you look at the flowers and then you think about, how that flower came to be, and the process that it took for it to get there, and all these different things, and yada, 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 and that the flower is composed of this and that and all this other stuff. That's kind of like the Western train of thought. But Eastern train of thought when it comes to philosophy is that you pick the flower up and you smell it and you be in that moment. You exist in that moment, There's something wonderful and really nice about that. There's a movie It's an underrated movie, and honestly, it could have been a little bit better by adding, like, if they could just add 10 more minutes to that movie, maybe 20. The Life of Walter Mitty, the remake that had Ben Stiller in it. There's a movie that kind of sums that up perfectly. I mean, a scene in that movie where Ben Stiller is on a hill, a mountain, whatever, and he's talking to his buddy there on this hill on the mountain, and his buddy's a photographer, and the guy's taking a picture of a spotted leopard or something like that, and he ends up not taking a picture of the spotted leopard because, you know, the leopard's looking at him from some distance away, and he's looking at the leopard, and he pulls back from the camera, and he just stares at it. And then, you know, his buddy's like, aren't you going to take the picture? And he's like, no, you know, sometimes when I do this job, I save some of these moments just for me, just for myself. And that's very much in line with Zen and Eastern philosophy train of thought, you know, being in that moment, being very present, you know. And I don't know. I believe in that, you know. I mean, I don't think you should go too far in any extreme in anything in life, because life needs balance, you know. Because usually when you go to an extreme in something, you'll end up burning out quick. And so if you want to last, if you want to go the distance, you need to have some type of balance in your life, you know. And it also makes me think of, you know, about stopping and appreciating the moment. I went to my first Metallica concert, went with my good buddy Will Avenger and some other friends, and we went to the U.S. Bank Arena in I think was it Columbus or Cincinnati? I'm going to say Cincinnati, Ohio, but I'm probably wrong. It was in Ohio. I can say that. We went to. It was during Metallica's Death Magnetic tour. And that was a great show. It was really good seats. It's a great show. You know, I think it was a decent openers. You know, I think Airborne was one of the openers. You know, they're like this AC/DC group, kind of inspired type of group. They did a good job. You know, and I don't know if I like this shading effect I did through here. I may erase that. But anyway, you know, they had some decent openers, seemed like. And a few I didn't care much for. I think they had Gojira. They may have had Lamb of God. And with those two bands, you know, some people really like those bands. But I you know, right now, I just can't get into them. You know, I like, you know, with Lamb of God's kind of similar to Pantera, but I feel like Pantera is a superior band when it comes to them. Now, Gojira is just on another planet. You know, I don't know how to describe them. It's kind of speed metal meets something else, meets a little bit of hardcore. I don't know. That's not even an accurate thing, but those were the openers. Anyway, that's not the point. So Metallica plays, and I bought myself this little hell, they probably don't even make it anymore. It's like a little camera thing, you know, just for that, you know, because at the time when they were touring, you know, I didn't have like, you know, a big fancy cell phone. I had one of those flip phones and stuff, and